Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Marissa. I am a sports psychologist with Inspire Wellness. So just to give you like a little bit about like Inspire Wellness and what we do as a sports psychology team, essentially our job is to work with athletes and help them become their best self, both in sport, but also outside of sport. We work with athletes at all different developmental places. So whether that's from youth sport to professional, we work with athletes coming in with different presentations. So athletes who might be struggling with a mental health disorder, athletes who are struggling with stress in their lives, maybe they're recovering from an injury or there's some relational challenges. And then we also work with athletes who just want to get better at their sport and realize the importance of the mental element of their game. So with that being said, we're so excited to be here. I'll allow Kate and Paul to introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Kate Martino. I'm a sport and mental health counselor at Inspire. And as Marissa said, we're super excited to be here. We help athletes just like you from the collegiate level by providing you tools to really reach that optimal level of performance. And all of us three have sport backgrounds ourselves, so we're able to connect with you through that level. Personally, I played soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, and ended up playing Division I lacrosse in college. So we're excited to hear your feedback today. We hope you put your videos on, unmute yourself, feel free to get involved.
Yeah, and hi everyone, I'm Paul Grunwald. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and sports psychologist. Really glad to be here with you today. Great coverage from Kate and Marissa in terms of what we do and how we think. I mean, maybe I'll just point out the fact that as Kate talked about, we're all former athletes. We experience a desire to perform well in many areas of life, even outside of sport. And so we come humbly to this, knowing that there's a lot we can bring in terms of our knowledge and experience. And part of that is our own experience as performers, as working on our craft, ourself, and bringing our best self to performance and figuring out how to unlock the best out of ourself and our process. So really excited to begin to start talking about some of that today. I'll also finish by pointing out, there's a lot of assumptions sometimes, because one of the areas we do work in as well is professional sport. So we've had the pleasure of working with the Nets, the New York Liberty, and also the Nets gaming crew. Been with the Nets probably the longest. I've been with them in some capacity 7 seasons, but this is my 5th season embedded with the team. And one of the things I'll maybe throw out there too is, as we're presenting some of the topics and some of the, actually all of the topics and even some of the things that we'll be doing today, we do with professional athletes as well. There's sometimes an assumption that we're gonna oversimplify it or bring you something different, when really it's like, regardless of what level you're at or what you're trying to do in performance, these ideas can be used to your benefit and help you better understand yourself and how to approach performance. So I'll stop there, but yeah, just really happy to be here today.
All right. So as we all know from personal experience, the last 8 months has been, for lack of a better term, extremely difficult and challenging for many different reasons, but particularly because of the pandemic. We realize that you haven't had the opportunity to be with your team, to compete with your team, to train with your team. And for this reason, it's more important more than ever to find our inner leader so that we can encourage our teammates and those around us, but we can also encourage ourselves. So today we're going to talk specifically about leading during the pandemic. So our style, from our experience presenting, we find that the most fun presentations is when we hear from you guys and when you share your experiences and ask questions. So throughout, no matter if we're talking or whatever, just, unmute yourselves, share your experiences, ask your questions. Please don't hesitate to put things in the chat. We're going to be checking the chat as frequently as possible to answer any of the questions that you may have. Also, please use this time as an opportunity to grab paper and something to write with, because we do some exercises. We're going to have you draw things out, reflect, and you also might want to take notes for yourself. All right, so just kind of an overlap of today, we're going to be talking a lot about your personal leadership style and skill set through reflection and self-assessment. We're also going to be talking and discussing specific strategies and behaviors and skills that you can use to be an effective leader during this time. We're going to also dive into some mental health today, talking a little bit about, what mental health is and some challenges you might experience with mental health deficits. As we know, during the pandemic, a lot of us may be struggling with our mental health. And so we're going to talk specifically about different signs and symptoms so we can identify when we're struggling, but also that, when others around us are also struggling. And then lastly, we can't talk about leadership ever without talking about self-care. So we're going to finish our discussion today around self-care and that topic. So we're going to just start off with our exercise to get us talking, getting us comfortable, getting us energized. So if we think about a fox, a lion, and a Saint Bernard, each of those animals has very unique, distinguished traits. So I want you to think for a moment on your leadership style and consider which animal do you resonate the most as when it comes to your leadership style. As a leader, are you more the lion, the fox, or the Saint Bernard? And as you're thinking that through, for your name, instead of having your name in the participant title, I want you to actually put the name of your animal. So how you would do that is you would just hover your mouse over your picture on the screen, and then you'd click those 3 little dots, and then that would give you the option to rename. And where you're going to rename, you're going to either have lion, fox, or Saint Bernard. And please, if you guys have any questions, unmute yourself or write in the chat.
Yeah, so a question about what does a Saint Bernard do as a leader? Can we quickly explain the difference between them?
So I'm gonna actually go with not yet. I'm not gonna give it to you that easy. That's something that we're gonna talk more about in our groups. So I guess with your instinct, go with your instinct. If you're not 100% sure, like when you really think about it, if you were to ask your teammates, like where would you go? Sorry for the cop out, but
I agree with you. And maybe to throw in there, it's like part of it is if you're thinking about these animals and how you think about them, the traits, that gets you also thinking about yourself. So I love that Marissa's like, no, go ahead, think it through. And feel free to be wrong. Maybe after we do this exercise, you think like, wow, no, I'm not a Saint Bernard. I'm a fox. Like, my goodness. But that's fine. Like, it's part of the exercise.
perfect. So we're starting to see people adjusting their names to their animals. See a few foxes, some Saint Bernards.
Marissa, I'm going to participate in this one, so I changed my name.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
I'm interested.
All right.
And if you're, I was thinking about like, there might be the savvy person that puts like the fox/lion. Like for now, just like go with one. Go with one.
All right. Keep at it, making sure to put that as your name. And I'm just going to explain what we're going to do and why we're having you do this. So we're going to actually split you into breakout groups based on your spirit animal. So you're going to be in a group with, your entire spirit animal group. And in that group, I want you guys to reflect on what are some of the strengths of your spirit animal, and then what are the potential weaknesses of the other animals. So for example, if you resonate as a lion, in that group, you're going to talk about as a lion, what are the strengths of a lion in their traits? And then what are some of the weaknesses of the fox and the Saint Bernard? Let's have some fun with this. Why would the lion be better leader than the fox or the Saint Bernard? Or if you're in the Saint Bernard group, why as the Saint Bernard are you guys the better group? So we're going to have that discussion, have you guys come back, and we're going to kind of challenge each other and think that all the way through together. So Saint Bernards, we'd love to hear, why the Saint Bernard leadership style is the best, and maybe what are some downfalls of the lion and the fox? You'd like to start us off?
Hi. I took notes, so I'm gonna just put everyone together. So my name is Serena, just
Hi, Serena.
Saint Bernard, but Saint Bernard #1. So we came like to discussion, and everyone, all our team was, you know, giving thoughts, and I'm just gonna read them. We thought Saint Bernard was very loving, fun, and understanding. A team player who is loyal and will do as I like, you know, is gonna be less as I like, you know, tell you to what to do, and less follow, like more follow me. I don't know how to put that in words. It likes to help others, and is trying to make others feel better, is a warm leader, and not like a really empowered, is really supporting, reliable, and is like a go-to person, which you know, is someone that you're really comfortable with, and even like the times you don't know that you need help, it's always there to support you. Is kind of like, compared to the other animals, is more a quiet leader, rather than like, you know, lion that who's, it's probably like very loud. Yeah, so these are the things that we thought, the good things about Saint Bernard. Obviously it has bad things too. And so about weaknesses of other animals, we kind of agreed that it's not weaknesses. You know, all of them have goods and bads. I'm sure the Saint Bernards had like bad things too, like maybe can improve in some places, and then, you know, it's not like, oh, you're good, I'm bad. But we thought that lion might be very dominant and not like really understanding others, which is like, oh, I'm telling you this is right, you should do this, and this is the way it needs to be done. You know, as someone, it's like really arrogant, and someone like, you know, like Saint Bernard would just understand other people as well. Fox, we were really quiet about it, but we think that it's really not caring. Like, you know, it puts its his or her emotion first other than others. So it's like, you know, kind of is like really a bit selfish. No offense to the fox people.
She's coming at you, foxes.
Yeah, sorry.
Good.
But like, you know, at the end there is like a lot of good things about fox and lions that, you know, maybe Saint Bernard can learn from them. None of them are like good and bad, but that's all.
Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem.
All right, Fox, let's hear from you guys.
Hi, I'm Fox, and we were discussing about how foxes, we tend to lead by example, like we're the first volunteer or the first person that's like eager to do something, to lead, to show by example. Compared to lions, lions are more like dominant, in a sense more respective, but not many animals can relate to a lion. And a Saint Bernard, like like someone said in our breakout session, that they seem to be more dependent on someone else to lead. I said that Saint Bernards can be more mellow compared to a fox and a lion. And one second. Like I said, the downside to potentially being a lion is that like not many animals can relate to a lion. Like the lions are very like intimidating. Like they seem to be more organized, you know, and leading like big groups, but they can be scary. Saint Bernards, like I think when I think of a Saint Bernard, I think of an animal that walks side by side by a human, and they would walk, like let's say someone else who's not familiar with something, they would walk them through it on the same level, not really like, oh, this is how you do things. It's more like, do it with me type of animal. But foxes, like we're like more on top, like we would pounce on any given opportunity because we're very energetic, sly. But the way we fit into the rest of the group is that like we're small and we could be more relatable in a sense, where it's not like we're a gigantic lion. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, last one, lion. What do we got?
What you got, Lion?
I feel as we had our breakout session, I feel you guys are just coming at us for no reason. What the reason? I don't understand. But we discussed that lions are more of leaders. We're, as many of you guys said, we are dominant. We're looking, yeah. But when it comes to the situation, are you gonna be more reserved, or are you gonna lead your group, protect your group, or just gonna shy away from anything? So as a leader, you want to go out there, put your best foot forward, and protect your own. So we felt the foxes and the Saint Bernards are too soft. They're soft, way too soft to be to I don't want to disrespect, but lead their own group in their sense, but they do what they have to do. The Lions, we dominate. So we're gonna go out there and we're gonna do our thing. You know?
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. So
Great, guys.
really our point here is that although we could all argue otherwise, there really isn't a better leader. It really depends on so many different factors. And if you look at the leadership on your team, the hope is that there is a lion, St. Bernard, and fox, because you're all going to complement each other in some ways, in some fashions, right? Some are going to be better at handling other circumstances and some better others. So the other thing is, this is just starting to create self-awareness about our leadership, our natural leadership style, what our strengths and our weaknesses are. So I definitely challenge you guys to think about that a little bit more. Think about the type of leader your team needs and how you complement those needs, and maybe where you can grow, or where maybe some of your challenges or your blind spots might be moving forward, just to enhance your leadership style, especially during this time. So Paul's going to talk a little bit more about some research around leadership and effective leadership styles.
Yeah, thanks, Marissa. Yeah, and guys, that was a great discussion. Very engaging. Could tell you guys worked hard on trying to understand that. The other thing I'll throw out, so Kate, Marissa, myself, our job for professional sports teams is to before they draft people, is the best we can try to like dive deep in terms of objectives and subjective research and figure out, well, what are you getting? And we don't use the lion, fox, and St. Bernard, but we do essentially use that idea to say, hey, you're getting a lion here. And they're like, well, we want them, keep the lion. We want them to be genuine, but we also need them to be a little bit more fox-like. We need, because of the way our team is created, like you need to help that lion calm down those lion tendencies and fit into this group. Great. There's other times they end up drafting people and like, yeah, they're more like the St. Bernard. It's like, okay, we need them to learn some lion techniques and lion skills and like put that together with who they are. So don't change yourself in terms of who you are genuinely, but definitely learn from one another in different groups. How do I incorporate the lion tools and the fox tools and the St. Bernard? And with that, the transformational leadership, taking yourself and then applying you as a leader. There's 4 different areas of transformational leadership. And the other area of, there's so many ideas of what leadership looks like. The one that compares to this, it would be the transactional leader. And that person is like, hey, here's my model. How do I make everyone fit into it? A transformational leader, and what we're trying to encourage you guys to consider it from a leadership perspective, is how can you be a leader that transforms others and gets the best out of others, right? So taking yourself and pulling out the best of yourself and the best in other people. And with that, the 4 areas I want you to think about, okay, can I check out off this box? The first box is to be an idolized influence. And to check off that box, you need to be someone your teammates can look up to and respect. You're a positive role model. You have a strong work ethic. Okay, so can you check that box? And if you can, that's going to impact the way you work, what you get from yourself, and how you impact other people on your team. The next area is inspirational motivation. And this is the part of you, this is thinking about if you can check this box, then you care about the heart of your team. Like what's the vibe? What's the feel? Do you guys have a heart that drives you guys together? Do you have a strong, like a shared vision? Do you have a passion for what you're doing, and do you feel like the team is motivated? And so if you can check that box, you're going to have a big influence on yourself, your own motivation, and the team around you. The next box to think about is the mind. Do you engage the people around you? Do you lead by engaging their mind, thinking about how they think, how to give them information in a way that makes sense to them? If you to check this box, you need to encourage creativity. You need to encourage yourself and others to be thinking outside the box, looking at the problem in front of you and figuring out like what are different ways we can solve this, not the same old usual way. Like how can I incorporate my lion friend here to look at from his perspective or her perspective, how do I take on this problem? Like thinking bigger. Then the last box for a transformational leader is individualized considerations. And this is considering the fact that each of you are very different. Even the lions, there are different lions on this call. There are different foxes on this call. So whether it's between the groups or within the groups, there's differences. So how do we embrace those differences and come together and figure out how to use one another's strengths for everyone's benefit? Like, so being tactful in how we approach people, being thoughtful on incorporating their ideas or learning from them. So each of you thinking about, in order to bring transformation to your group and to yourself, just thinking about these 4 areas.
I'll add to that. These are really challenging, specifically now with the pandemic. If you're not with your teammates, we have to be even more creative about how we can start to implement these different behaviors. So usually the more creative, the better. So think about, especially during these times, how you might implement these.
And I think this is a good transition into mental health, because you can't be a productive leader if you don't have your mental health in check. So I want to throw it out there to you guys, create a little discussion here, write in the chat or unmute yourself. What do you think of when you hear mental health? What comes into your mind? Someone's asking to go back to the previous slide real quick, Marissa.
Then we have someone who said being mentally present.
Awesome.
Feeling good about yourself.
Feeling good about yourself. I see the St. Bernard holding her hand up. You can talk.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, my name is Eliana. You can call me Ellie. So I feel like mental health involves a lot of things, especially when it comes to others, because you cannot give what you don't have. So you must be or at least try to be stable as possible as you can be, and like know how to differentiate the personal stuff from the stuff around you, from your environment. Bring to the table things that are good for your team, for the people that count on you. Like mental health is not, you don't need to be 100% healthy in that sense, because no one is, and I don't think no one can, because everybody individually has their own problems to solve personally and in different environments. You just need to know like when to pull out and when to like keep them in, like what to bring to the table and when to do it.
Awesome. I appreciate you saying that. We're actually going to talk about how you need to learn how to take care of yourself first before taking care of others. So you hit that right on the dot.
Someone added to the chat box too. I think about stigma and how mental health is viewed as being something bad about someone instead of a growing process.
Yeah. Which is so true. And that's why we like to say mental health is on this continuum here. And so we look at the red part, right? In crisis would be someone who's really, really struggling, someone who might have a mental health diagnosis. They might be feeling very anxious, exhausted, experiencing some weight gain or weight loss. And we like to view that as red, right? We hope we never get to this point and that we can really attack any of the problems you're having before you hit that rock bottom. But there's many people that struggle in this red zone, and we provide you some tools to move up the ladder. And so someone who's struggling too, that might be poor performance on the field or court, a little depressed, a little tired all the time. But then we eventually get to surviving. And I like the colors here because I view yellow as a healing color, a pretty healing energy. So as you go up, right, you're starting to heal and you're learning to be more stable as you survive. You learn to cope a little bit better. And then healthy functioning is that calm state. So you're performing, you're feeling normal with social activities, you're pretty positive, you're sleeping better. And then learning to thrive is really the tough part. Learning to be consistent in your mental health, highly performing well. And that's what we hope to get you guys to. But it's a process, and there's going to be some days where you might be struggling and others where you might be thriving. So we try to view mental health as this continuum. And just based on the research right now, it's been a tough year for college students. I know in our practice, I've gotten a few college students come in simply because of the pandemic and the impact it's had. So the research is showing that 50% of you guys have struggled with anxiety, and as a result are struggling in school. 44% are reporting symptoms of depression, whether that be changes in sleep, changes in appetite. 50% of students are rating their mental health as average or poor. So there's this lacking of mental health awareness. And then 40% of students fail to seek help. And I created something recently, we're actually going to post it on our Instagram, but mentally tough people see the value in seeking help. And that's part of challenging the stigma, is that it's actually a strength to reach out to your supports. It's a strength that, these big time Nets athletes and professionals, oh goodness. Sorry.
Hey, be resilient, Kate. You got this.
So going into the impact specific, Paul, will you take this one for me?
Yeah, no problem. Come back whenever you're ready, Kate. So specifically looking at, how the COVID-19 and the pandemic has impacted us, a majority of student athletes reported high rates of mental distress. Over a third reported experiencing difficulties with sleep. And with sport, we like to point out, and performance in general, sleep is the #1 way to recover. And so if our sleep is impacted, that also has such a impact on our health and well-being and our mental health and our performance. And so sleep, it's vital for us. More than a quarter reported feeling sadness and a sense of loss. 1 in 12 reported feeling so depressed it has been difficult to function constantly or almost every day. And so those are really high numbers. I think multiple things have to happen because of these numbers. One, we have to reduce that stigma. We have to know that there's a lot of us. There's probably people on this call that just aren't feeling their best right now. They're not feeling as like they're thriving, or that they're doing well. They just feel like they're moving through life, and sometimes worse. So let's be kind to one another. And at the same time, beyond just normalizing, it's understanding that there's a grief process to all of this. The fact that the shift in life, the change in life, that impacts our health and well-being. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and the people around us.
All right, I'm good to jump back in. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
So behavior to monitor within yourself and within your teammates or even just your friends right now is any significant changes that they might be experiencing. So changes in eating and sleeping habits, identifying if you're feeling the urge to eat a lot more or eat less. If you're struggling to sleep, you just want to keep an eye on it. A decrease in interest. So things that you once found really enjoyable and were passionate about no longer feel enjoyable. And that's something we really want to address in the work that we do with our athletes. This sense of irritability. And I know a lot of people that are experiencing this now, being cooped up in the house, right? It's more likely to feel that irritability. So it's important to find outlets. Then we look at, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Okay. So all of these, if you want, Kate, jump in whenever you're ready. And Marissa, you can jump in too. With all of these, notice that there's an impact on, these are signs we can watch for. And notice that there's an impact often on our feelings and our thoughts, right? And with that, it's paying attention to your body and your thinking and the emotions you're experiencing. And we're going to talk in a little bit other than this is the piece of like identify them, be aware of them. We don't want to push these under the rug or ignore them because knowledge is power, right? So if you're aware of like these are signs that you're not at your best or that people around you are not your best because you're seeing, wow, that person who's really spot on is really having a lot of difficulties concentrating. I wonder what's going on in their life. Even just having a conversation with them can make a huge difference. If a friend who used to be around all the time begins to withdraw and no one notices, they're alone to deal with it. And there might be times they don't feel like talking about it, but just knowing someone is making the effort to try to pull them away, pull them back to the group, make sure they're not withdrawing, at least make sure they know that they're not on their own, can make a huge impact. And the same goes for us. So this slide is really about how to assess.
And I'll add too that this is about changes in behavior. So we don't have to be so worried about our friends that maybe are maybe a little bit more flat. That's just at baseline, that's how they tend to operate. They're just a flat kind of affect all the time. We're looking for changes. So this is maybe more concern for a friend that is a little bit more bubbly and all of a sudden we're seeing that they're more flat. That's something we want to look for. Maybe this is a person that usually is really healthy, but now all of a sudden they're complaining about somatic complaints like my belly hurts or I'm having chronic headaches. So we're looking for not just these symptoms, but if there are changes and then these symptoms are appearing, that's something we want to consider.
Thanks, guys. And I think you can see this impact practice. I know a lot of you aren't getting the chance to practice in person, but in relation to Zoom calls and with your teammates, you might see some of your teammates or even yourself experience some low motivation right now. And that might be they're not showing up to the Zoom meetings, they're withdrawing from teammates. And you yourself or your teammates might experience a decrease in pleasure in your sport. It's hard to find joy in it when you're not getting the opportunity to play it. So really try to connect with those teammates, reach out for help if you need it. And you might be feeling more fatigued, more muscle soreness just in general because of everything going on right now in the world. And that's a normal feeling, but really try to check in with your body and check in with your mind to cope. And then lastly, what can you do about this stuff? So if you see a teammate struggling, there's certain things that you can do. And one is asking open-ended questions. So asking things like, how can I help you today? What's going on? I just want to check in with you. Is there anything I can do to help? Another question might be, what support do you need to perform your best? Or how can I help you perform your best? Second, you want to avoid jumping to solution mode. And as humans and athletes, we constantly want to just like fix things in the moment. But sometimes we need to just be there with our friends, be there with our teammates, listen, and then together come up with a plan to solve the problem. And then lastly, find resources, ask your friends, go see the counselors on campus. You can reach out to us, your coaches, athletic trainers. There are people available to you.
There was a question on what does flat affect mean? And I'll just quickly say it's just, we have the people in life who have like excitement and bubbly. We have other people who are just low affect would be like our middle ground would be just like neutral. Flat would be like the people who don't get that excited about things. Their highs are not that high. They're just level and easy going. Any other examples to add to that?
Eeyore is a great example. So
Great
for
example.
true people out there, like Eeyore is very flat. He doesn't ever really get really excited. That is like our flat affect.
Yeah.
Someone else has their hand raised. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, hi. So, a lot of this is like a lot of the slides have been like geared towards like seeing our teammates again, even though we're still in the pandemic. I wanted to get your thoughts on what happens, how to do this virtually, because I think we're all part of the CUNY conference here, and I don't think any of us are playing at all this for the 2021 season. Like our fall and winter sports were already canceled, and there hasn't been any word on the spring yet, but I don't think we're playing. So I just wanted to get your opinions on how to do all of this stuff more on the virtual side, since we most likely won't be having athletics until the fall of this year.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because everything feels more connected when you're in person. But you can FaceTime. I would even, when Paul was talking about the different styles of leadership, one of them was inspirational motivation. And if there's a teammate you're connected to, maybe it's sending them a quote, a motivational quote, just seeing where they're at and how they're doing. And I would say setting up time to talk with teammates and friends, schedule the time in. And
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said texting individually just to check in.
That's right.
Can I mention something?
Yeah.
So during when the pandemic has started, as us, we were the swim team. We were really down and like disappointed, sad, whatever. And we had group chats we would talk to, but also sometimes people just don't respond in group chats, so you can't really get involved with them. So we as a whole group, we planned to have Zoom meetings, and we were as like some of us were like leading each day. It was like 3 times a day, 40 minutes. It wasn't like that long, but 40 minutes. We used to work out together. So we would put the laptop or phone, whatever, in front of us, and then just someone will say, oh guys, like this is the next one, and then we do 40 minutes workout. And there was like some days that we were just like, oh guys, like there was a lot of things going on, I don't feel like it. And then we like we ended up just talking, and like we talked, and we're like, oh, let's make another Zoom meeting, another 40 minutes. And like you see, like when you're a group of friends, or when you're a group of someone that you were teammates with, when you see their face, their facial expression, how they feel. And some of us, like some of our friends that we knew that they were quarantining, we would just like go get ice cream and give it to them, like just ice cream deliveries. And sometimes like that makes someone happy. And I really think we've been slacking on that actually, and I was really thinking to do it again, because now that everything starts again and everyone feels low, it probably is a good like motivational inspiration, a little bit at least.
Absolutely.
So
Great ideas. And clearly it's working for you. I'll also throw out the encouragement, even small efforts can make a huge difference. So if you're a person on this call who are thinking like, oh, I'd love to do like 40 minutes there, and I don't feel like I have the time, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I have this, then it might start small. It might be making sure, like if you consider yourself one of the team leaders, texting each teammate, maybe you see something funny on Instagram, you're like, this is going to raise people's spirits, just sending it out. Just knowing someone's out there and thinking of them and trying to bring up their spirits can have a huge impact. So figuring out yours. Go ahead.
How are you? So my name's Corey,
Okay.
and so I go to John Jay, and I'm on the basketball team there. So what we do, I try to reach out to one teammate every day individually, because I feel like reaching out to someone individual means more than a group text.
Love it.
And whether it's a new, because I'm a sophomore this year, so whether it's a new freshman that just came into John Jay that's on the team that hasn't got the college experience yet, or it's a senior that can't play their last year and has to go into their masters and might not use their last year of eligibility, either or. And we also talk as a team too on Zoom calls. We just recently talked about just all the events that's been happening. Um, just to see everyone's perspective on it and what everyone thinks, and just to stay in touch, because that's the only thing we can do right now. Of course, being in person and high-fiving each other and hugging each other is the best thing for everyone, but of course we can't do that as of right now. But all we can do is just keep our heads high and just stay in contact with everyone as best as we could. So that's what we do.
Love it.
I
Well,
was
thank
actually going to jump in.
Oh.
We are all CUNY here, and we're all used to playing against each other and, not liking the person on the other team because they're your opponent. But because we are so close, we do have friends. And I know many student athletes have friends on other teams from other schools. Don't be afraid to reach out to them too, because they're a friend first, and they may need some help. So just another suggestion. Don't keep it just within your team. Reach out to other teams in your school too.
like it. Very nice. And God, this is a perfect lead into the next piece. Because in the same way, I like that this group is thinking about others. We also need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, right? And I know it's been a while since I've flown, I'm sure for the majority on this group, but like I always think for this, the reminder on the airplane is make sure you fasten your seatbelt before you help the person next to you, right? And the science behind that is if we're not taking care of ourselves first and buckling that seatbelt, it's really hard to help other people, and it becomes even more chaotic. And so the same here, definitely, I love that this group cares about others. Make sure you're also identifying for yourself what you need. And we're going to give you a couple ideas that you can apply both to yourself as well as to other people. And this has to do with our self-care. And with that, we like to use this wheel as a great example because one, we want you to know that, and my encouragement would be start drawing this, circle on there on your paper that you have in front of you, or take a snapshot of this just so you have it. And we really want people thinking about themselves, the whole person, not just one area. And we have the physical, the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual, the personal, and the professional. You're all of these pieces, and making sure you're caring for yourself in each of these areas is highly important. I don't think we have time, so I'm not going to ask you, but we usually ask people to decide which one they feel they're best at. And so as you're looking at, just think about it. Which are you best at taking care of yourself physically, but you neglect your spiritual side? Are you really good at the personal, but you kind of let the psychological go? And then the next slide gives a bunch of examples about how you can put self-care into place for each of these areas. And what you'll notice, again, take a snapshot. We'll also put this on our Instagram page to make sure it's available. But what you'll notice if you look through these, if you identify, I'm not even sure what emotional self-care looks like. Do I really do that? There are simple ideas there, things that can be anywhere from 1 minute to 20 minutes. Like whether it's self-care or working on strategies for performance, one of the things it's really important that we point out, it doesn't take up enormous amounts of time. But it does require work. It requires you putting in some time, and it requires you trying to figure out what strategies work for you. So we'll make sure this is up on our Instagram account. And part of this, there can be a bridge between both yourself and others. Right. So if you're talking to a teammate, you're talking to a sibling, you're talking to a friend, and you feel like, wow, they're just kind of like feeling disconnected. Like, I just wonder if like one of these psychological techniques might help. encouraging them to take care of themselves through meditation or, identifying their goals for just today, not the whole week. What are your goals for today? What are 2 things you can write down? Trying to make it simple and keep people moving is important. And then we also wanted to point out in terms of our work, if any are interested in individual sessions, what that means, whether it's for your well-being and your mental health, whether it's for your performance and you're trying to figure out, okay, I want to grow during this pandemic. I don't want it to go to waste. I'm feeling like, how can I push myself and expand my abilities? I want some more tools. We're happy to talk you through what that means, how we set it up, and would love to connect with you on that. We have locations in a few areas in New Jersey, but we also, because of sports psychology, we work with people throughout the country. We try to focus more on the Northeast though. So these are different ways to get in contact with us. As I said, we have Instagram account. We'll make sure on our Instagram account, we put some of the slides from today. If you have questions or you want some of the slides for your use, to send to other people because you think it'd be beneficial to them, reach out, let us know. We'd love to continue the conversation and push you and support you any way we can. Any questions? Oh, and a recap from today's session will be on CUNYathletics.com. Oh, we have a raised hand. Go for it.
So I've dealt with situations in the past where I've had teammates that are going through so much in life that they can't, that sometimes their focuses should be better off on not competing in athletics, whether it's just trying to get their grades up or stuff that's going on at home that requires their attention more, because at the end we're student athletes first, especially at the D3 level. And I, like you guys said that you guys work with the Nets. So obviously the biggest case right now is what's going on with one of the star players, that it was clear that before the start of this season, Kyrie wasn't sure if he should be playing, and he made it vocal. And now everything that's going on, I just wanted to get your opinion on how us as leaders of our team and how you guys as sports psychologists have worked with that specific situation, where sometimes it's better off that some of our players take a step back before giving their full focus back on athletics.
Yeah, it's a great question. So for athletes in general, we want them to really understand like the importance of their mental health, both on and off the court, on and off the field, on and off the track, whatever sport we might be talking about. And so when an athlete's struggling with, first of all, I think it's helping them identify where the area of struggle is. Is it motivation? Is it finding new value for their sport? Is it distractions off the field or off the court? So and you even highlight it in your question, it's a complex, we are complex, right, as human beings. And so there's no one answer for the big question that you posed, and I appreciate that. I think for me, it's if I have an athlete coming in and that is like, hey, I'm not sure if I should even be on the field or on the court, like it starts with trying to better understand, well, what are the barriers you're facing? And what's interesting to me, often when athletes come with that question, the difficulties they're having away from performance are often very similar to the difficulties they have within performance. So it's a really great opportunity to look at, is it time management? Is it motivation? Is it just being able to set distractions aside? And so within that, like once you assess it and figure out, okay, well, here's the area that's best to begin the work, then you kind of create a path with them in terms of like, okay, what's the next step? Because it's a multifaceted concern often in terms of the difficulties and everywhere it could be, we really have to try to just keep it simple and keep it moving. And that's part of our job, to help assess and point out some of the initial steps that people can take right away. Anything you guys want to add to that, Marissa, Kate?
We do have a couple more questions.
Okay.
There's one in the chat. The question is, how can we help a new teammate that might be a recruit or transfer be talkative if they do not answer the group chat or private message and it seems they might feel isolated or going through a tough time? My kind of reaction to that is, because this is a transfer or a recruit, we might not really know that person, and they might not really know the team. So it might not be that they're feeling isolated, but they just don't feel maybe connected. But the first kind of step to figuring out what is going on with that person is just to getting to know them as a person. So rather like how, that might be a call. I know a lot of us feel more comfortable with text and group chats and things like that, but even giving a call just to let's get to know each other rather than what's going on with you. I want us to connect. I want us to get to know each other. Maybe, that's once a week the team is doing a game night or having dinner together from their homes, opportunities to get to know each other. And what you'll find is that then people who are feeling isolated are more likely to reach out on that one-to-one basis. But first, it's creating that relationship.
Yeah, I had typed out an answer to that
Oh,
question in the chat. No, I'm just going to speak to it because I never sent it. I was a transfer myself in college, and I think I couldn't imagine going through that process now during a pandemic. It is so hard to get connected. So if you want to connect with that person, just validate too, like, oh, this must be so difficult as a transfer, as a recruit, to really not initially be connected. And I don't know if you guys are comfortable with it, whether it's grabbing a cup of coffee with the person or asking them to go on a walk, socially distant. Try to be creative with it just to get them involved with the team as much as you can.
Great. Someone's raising their hand as well. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes. Well, I just wanted you guys to go over the transformational leadership slide again.
Sure. What we can do is we can post that. We'll also post that today. And then Paul, I don't know if you want to give a synopsis over that.
Yeah. So the 4 areas you're saying in terms of, well, it's related to our behaviors for leadership, and transformational leadership is like pointing out the importance of if we behave in a way that we're the idolized influence, if we create inspirational motivation and try to inspire people, become the heart of the team, if we're thinking about people's minds, which is the intellectual stimulating. And then the last piece is really thinking about, it's called individualized considerations. And it's really thinking about, how do I lead everyone in a way that makes sense to them? So that's a quick synopsis, but yeah, we'll have that slide up on the Instagram account as well. And if it's not clear even now, or once you see the slide, just DM us or email, whatever's easier.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Any final questions? Well, thanks so much. Such a pleasure spending some time with you all. Really enjoyed our chat. Really like having such an engaged group. It's been a lot of fun. Don't hesitate to reach out if we can help in any way or support your team, you as individuals, people around you. Just really value your time. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And remember, guys, if you're struggling or need something, we're just an email or a call away. And if there's any way we can better support you, just let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Pleasure.